A very good afternoon to all of you, cherished viewers of Hot Issues, and welcome to another exciting edition of Hot Issues. So about 2 months ago, we all heard of the unfortunate murder of Major Maxwell Mahama. Well, the case is in court, but this afternoon, we've been joined by one man who has certain concerns with how the case itself is traveling, particularly when it comes to issues of human rights of the accused persons. I am Winston Amwa, and this is Hot Issues. When we return after this break, I'll be introducing my guest for this afternoon, and then we'll begin deliberations for the afternoon. All right, so welcome back from that short break, and thanks for staying with us. This is Hot Issues, and my guest this afternoon is counsel for the Denkyira Assembly member, and I believe there are many of you who know him, that Assembly member who is accused of masterminding the murder of Captain Major Maxwell Mahama, George Bernard Shaw. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon.
And I believe you're doing very well.
By God's grace, I'm cool.
Great. So how come you accepted to represent these persons? 4 of them, we're told they are Assembly member and 3 others.
Well, to begin with, it wasn't like I accepted to do the case. It was a voluntary reaction from me, such that I happened to be in court on the day that the first, as you can remember or recall, 7 people were initially arraigned and sent to the court in Cape Coast. I was on a different assignment in Cape Coast, and there was a lot of, should I say, pandemonium, because there were lots of people. I happened to be in the registrar's office following some case up, and then lots of journalists came to the registrar to ask for accreditation to cover a case. And then it turned out that it was this case. And when I came out, there were lots of people, crowds gathering, people hooting at them, people throwing stones. And then they were being ushered into court. And so partly out of curiosity and also some inner compulsion, being that I have been doing human rights work from England since I was called those long years ago. I went to the court, and then I found out that they had no representation. So I approached them. They were then behind the police, but the police were even heckling me. They didn't want anyone to talk to them. And I told them that whether they had any lawyer. They said no. And I said I will volunteer to be their lawyer for the day.
Okay. And then what happened after the day?
After the day, they were being whisked away, and I felt I just couldn't leave them in as it were, in a lurch, because I had already taken on the case. And you see, the reaction, the euphoria, the
yeah, but that was that was to be expected based on how everything happened, wouldn't you say so?
Well, yes. And first of all, I will have to express my deeper condolences to the family, and because the way the captain died, no one deserved to die that way. And
yet you decided to represent those who were accused of murdering him?
Yeah, I'm very happy you used the word accused. It's an allegation.
Yes, it's an allegation, but so, the people, some of whom, the assembly member had spoken at the time, he had said, for instance, because they came to invite him, these are people who are accused of doing so, and you have decided to represent them. You want them to be set free, isn't it?
First of all, I am a human rights advocate through and through.
What is it about human rights with this case?
I've been doing this work since I left University of London those years, and all my practice in England was centered on human rights.
Great, so let me just understand this. What's it about human rights when it comes to this?
When we say human rights, yeah, and that underpins most modern democracies, and at the center of that is what we call rule of law. which basically, in basic terms, means that whatever governs society is regulated by law, sets of procedures that have been enacted to govern human society. So the fact that, especially this human rights came to the fore, it was there before, I mean, from the time of St. Augustine.
Yes, great. I understand that bit, but in deciding to represent them, what do you seek to achieve?
It goes back to what I was trying to elaborate in the previous
because
question.
Of our time, we just have to make it brief. Yes,
okay.
So you tell me what you seek to achieve in representing
because
them.
it is a fundamental right of every human being to have counsel whenever they are accused, especially in a case that have a punishment as grave as this, which is capital punishment. You could be killed. So starting from the Universal Declaration of Rights to the UN, all constitution, even in your Ghanaian constitution.
Beyond their representation,
yeah.
Yes, they deserve counsel. They have counsel. In you, what do you seek to achieve? You want to ensure what happens at the end of the case.
I want to ensure justice.
What will be justice in your case?
Justice in my case will be that the evidence that is gathered is not tainted. The prosecution do an impartial job. We, the defense, we question, we scrutinize the evidence that is put forward. And at the end of the day, when all the issues are made available to, because a case like this is likely to be on indictment, which means jurors will try it. And then the jurors will seek through the evidence. And at the end of the day, they will convict using the criminal standard. If they are convinced that the accused people are guilty beyond reasonable doubt, then for me, that is justice for me. Because we don't go back to the medieval times or primitive times when just accusation can land you in trouble and then you get punished for it. You have to be tried by your peers. And if your peers find you guilty, then you are guilty.
So what you seek to do is just representing them, ensure that they have a counsel. You wouldn't have a problem if there's compelling evidence and that evidence sends them to death or anything.
It would even be against my vocation and against my principle. Because what I seek to do, and it's not very, very, should I say, accepted in these jurisdictions, is the fact that when somebody is condemned, you see, there's a difference. Mere allegations. We've done cases like my people master in England did, the famous Guildford 4 in England. When things happen like that, you have to go through the process. You have to go through, the evidence is tested.
Yes, I get that bit, but I just want some bit of clarification here.
Yeah.
So what you're seeking to do, if there isn't enough evidence, your wish then would be to get them out.
It wouldn't be my wish. It would be my professional call, duty.
Yes.
It
so
wouldn't
your
be my
professional
wish.
duty
yes.
here
as a lawyer,
is to ensure that the state is able to prove beyond reasonable doubt.
Because that is what.
And so your professional wish then is to ensure that these persons are just not carried and thrown into jail, but then they go through due process.
Yeah.
And if the state is able to prove beyond reasonable doubt, so be it.
Yeah.
And so you'll be punching holes into the state's prosecution eventually.
As the law allows me to do.
Yes, so that's what you will do.
As the law allows me to do.
Let's get a clarification here.
Right.
Yes, the law allows you to do that, and so you'll be doing that.
Yes, because.
Do we get that clear? You will be doing that.
I will not be defending my clients if I do not. So, for example, if there are some contradictions in the evidence, it will be against my call. It will be professional negligence, which the clients or their family could sue me for if I don't expose that. So it's like, it's my job. And my job is done within the confines of elaborate, time-tested principles of law that has been going through ages, and which Ghana, as a democratic dispensation, has accepted.
Are you being paid for this?
Am I being paid for this?
Or is it pro bono?
Well, it's a pro bono. I don't know whether they will give me something later, but...
Have you discussed anything like that with them?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Yes.
Okay. Have there been threats on your life ever since you decided to represent these 4 persons?
Yes, a lot.
What have they been?
Ranging from physical. When I say physical, I mean the heckling initially at the Cape Coast course. And there have been instances where some stones were thrown.
Stones were thrown
at my car. Yeah,
at
hit the windscreen of the car. And then verbal insults on radio stations, and then on social media as well. And then the worst of it is that I hear some men, so-called men of God, are even praying for my death.
Where did you hear that?
I hear this. Where did I hear that? Well, 2 people from my chambers told me. They said some pastor has granted some interview. I'm not going to name his name because I won't go down that line, but as one of these so-called street pastors who have gained notoriety in Ghana and things like that. You see, this is why initially even I agreed to come on this program, because it's these issues that people need to see. I do not stand for evil.
What do you stand for?
I stand for justice, and I stand for, because what is inevitable in the greater human rights discourse is that every man is treated and given equal dignity by virtue of being a human being.
Have you reported to the police all these threats that you're talking about? Have you had consent to report to the police? I mean, have you had cause to report to the police?
No, because at the time, I even felt that, you see, just the manner of the death of this man was so bad that even, like I said, at the Cape Coast Court, the police themselves were even preventing me from even speaking to this guy. So it looks like those guys were devils. But what I was seeking to do is to prevent what the people who actually killed the captain did to him. That's what I'm trying to prevent, because they did not, or those who did it, did not even ask him properly why he was there, or his mission, or when he gave some explanation, to give him time to explain himself. Now you turn around, you're doing the same thing to the accused persons. For instance, now a lot of them have been discharged since we started this case. If we have applied, or what the general go get them started at the beginning, and we got them and killed all of them, we would have killed innocent people. This is what I seek to do, because at the end of the day, the truth will out. And that is the point I want the nation to see, because it's not that I hear...
So you don't want them to go through the same fate they put that man through?
No. That are the principles of fair trial.
Great. Let's go for a short break. When we return after this break, I still have George Bernard Shaw here with me, who is the counsel for the Asiedu-Dartey Assembly member and 3 others in the case of the murder of Major Maxwell Mahama. This is Hot Issues, and I am Winston. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. This is Hot Issues, and this afternoon, my guest is counsel for the Asiedu-Dartey Assembly member accused of the murder of Major Maxwell Mahama, George Bernard Shaw. So, yes, you're talking about human rights here. Have you seen the video, the lynching of Major Maxwell Mahama? Have you seen it?
No.
You haven't seen it?
No. And that is intentional, because I don't want to disabuse my mind before the trial.
Why don't you want to see it?
I will see it when the prosecution offer it as evidence. Then I'll have to go through.
But why haven't you seen it all this while?
Because there are whole issues of problems with things on social media. I don't know the source and authenticity of those videos.
But here you are talking about you do not want them to go through the same situation that Major Maxwell Mahama went through.
Yeah.
How did you come by the knowledge of the situation he went through if you haven't seen the video?
Because it's been in the news, and he's been in the newspapers. You read newspapers, and he said he was lynched. And some of it went into quite a detail, and also commentaries on some of the radio stations. I think one, I'm not very confident.
Don't worry, but
CTFM and things like that. They've done programs on it. It's just that I haven't seen the explicit videos.
You've seen bits and pieces of it?
No, at all.
You're representing these guys, and you don't think it's important to see the video?
When the trial, see, we are at very initial stages of the trial. Of course, as defense counsel, I have to go through the evidence, but that is not the prosecution has not offered me any evidence. There's something called disclosure. They have to tell us what they have, and until they give me that is the evidence in the case. I don't go about.
So George Bernard Shaw, on what basis are you defending these people?
On the basis as guaranteed in the Constitution of Ghana, to wit Article 19, that no one is guilty until proven guilty.
Great. But as a lawyer defending them, what is the conviction that you have that tells you that I need to defend these people based on their case? You don't even know what's happened.
I've told you that in the first place, there's a fundamental principle of anyone having a lawyer when they are accused of a capital offense.
They would have gotten a lawyer anyway.
Secondly,
so be it. Why you?
Why me?
Yeah.
Because I felt that everyone was backing away. And that was like they were joining.
That was only the first time they came to court and you met them. It didn't mean that everyone was backing away, did it?
Even up till now, a lot of my peers are asking me to get off the case.
A lot of your peers, lawyers, are asking you to get off the case.
Lawyers.
Why do they want you off the case?
Because you see the sentiments surrounding the case, and then also maybe the brutal murder. Because like I said, I made it very clear, I do not subscribe to any human being going through that. But at the same time, that doesn't mean we should...
Going through what?
What the captain is alleged to have gone through before he died.
Is alleged to have gone through?
Well, but no, he is dead. So
he went through that.
He went through that, but
that
is different from.
No, that has been established. That he went
the fact is that he's dead. Yes, it's
I have seen the video. Yes. You say you haven't seen, but I have seen the video.
Yes, I haven't seen it.
And I know what he went through. That's established.
Right.
No longer an allegation.
No.
We know what he went through. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's a fact because he's dead. They've had a funeral. He's dead. So that's a fact. You can't deny that. But that is different from people being accused of killing him, because murder has a legal definition.
So Counsel George Bernard Shaw, what are you working with so far? I mean, what are you working with so far?
My instructions from my client.
Your instructions from your client?
Yes.
Okay. That
he's innocent. And if you find out, every lawyer works by the instruction. What your client tells you. For example,
in this case, you went for your client, didn't you?
In England, like this.
But in this case, you went for your client, not more like your client walking up to you and telling you that I am innocent. But you went there.
Yeah, but I didn't go and tell.
And when you went there, he's told you certain things.
Yeah.
He's told you a lot of things, right?
If he told me, like in England, which I've done many times in England, that I did this,
you
have to come out of the case.
He told you he was innocent.
Yes.
And when he told you that, I believe you sought to find out why he was innocent.
Yes.
You believe he's innocent?
It's not a question of belief. It's our training.
No. You are his representative.
Yeah.
You must have belief in the case you're pursuing.
Okay, let me tell you something.
Let's just do a simple yes
it's simple.
Or no. I mean, that's
I
a simple yes.
in what my client tells me.
So you believe your client is innocent?
Except, and it's a cardinal this thing. I don't know how that pans out here in Ghana, but like, for example, in the UK, if you have an interview with your client and it slips out, or he says something that makes you know that he has done it, Even though you say don't do it, but the evidence says that you are guilty. Therefore, my advice, and that's what I do professionally, I will tell you that in the face of the evidence we've got, you have no other choice than to plead guilty, because you will be found guilty at trial. And at trial, if you are found guilty, your punishment is more than if you plead guilty, because you don't put
So based on what they've told you, you believe they are innocent.
Yes.
When you realize they are guilty,
Yeah.
if you realize they are guilty,
I will advise them to.
you advise them.
Yeah, that this is the situation. The law, the evidence is against you, even though you tell me otherwise.
What's your concern about how they're being treated?
That's a big. Initially, it was very bad. I hear.
How bad was it?
In terms of maltreatment and
Such as?
And beatings and things like
They were
that.
being beaten in custody
Yeah.
by the police. Counsel Bernard Shaw, your clients were being beaten by the police?
At least. I did not.
No, it's a yes or no. They told you they were being beaten by the
answering. Yes, I'm going to answer. So I didn't witness it, but
when
he tells
you
me.
go to Counsel Bernard Shaw, when you go to court, you ask yes or no questions.
Yeah.
I'm just asking you, did your clients tell you?
Oh yeah, I didn't hear that bit. He said, did he tell me? Yes, of
Yes,
course
he
he told
told
me.
you.
Yeah, and
He
he's
told
even
you?
got a scar from the head.
Which of
injury.
them?
William Barr.
The assembly member.
Yeah,
That he was beaten by the police.
that's what he said.
And you haven't picked it up?
I made the court aware of it.
And what has happened?
And I told the police, and then, so he says he's okay now.
No, you raised that in court,
Of
and what
course.
happened?
Well, at that time, they had to basically tell the court, the police, to treat them well and give them their rights.
Did your client go to the hospital?
Yes.
Which hospital was he? What was the report of the hospital? What was the medical report? What did it say?
It's not for this forum now.
You've raised it in court. It's in the public domain. I'm surprised you don't want to talk about it.
Because it might become an issue in the trial, and my vocation doesn't allow me.
That's something you would use in a trial.
Yeah, I might. I don't know.
I see. But this, that involves. Nobody is expected to go through these things. So I'm surprised that you're not picking it up.
You see, those are the human rights issues, because, you see, it could happen to you. Someone would just accuse you of capital punishment, and then the police come for you. You are taken into cells. You are beaten. You are stabbed. You are not allowed to see your relatives, and then later on you go to. Even in this country, I've done a case where some African Americans were accused of killing. They called them it happened in that place. What is it called? On the Volta River there. It was very prominent 2 years ago. 2 years ago, when some African Americans, one was killed, and then 5 of them were charged with murder.
So,
and in the end, these guys were put in prison custody. Appalling conditions in Labadi. We had to fight. In the end, they were all discharged because there was. So that's the bit that we fight against, because even there have been cases in other jurisdictions, but what I know is like in the UK where
But these are people who didn't consider the human rights of Major Maxwell Mahama in murdering him and killing him.
Exactly, I made that point.
Yes,
I said those. You remember those who actually killed him. Because I don't stand for lynching, I don't stand for capital, I don't stand for instant justice, mob violence. No.
Except that you are representing those who are accused.
But that doesn't mean the fact that I didn't stand for that, it shouldn't make me change my stance now and become a hypocrite. Because listen, in this country, mob violence has been going on for ages, and now people were pretending like that was the first time it has happened.
So you've raised issues about human rights in Ghana. I believe your clients are not the only persons to have gone through this. And since you are fighting for the protection of human rights, what else are you doing apart from just raising this issue?
We gradually, because it has different strands, the law itself, as some say, needs to be changed. For example, it would be nice for them to have a Human Rights Act like they have in England, where these aspects, because like in England, the very first time you go into a police station, when the police are, even before the police can arrest you, they have to have what is called reasonable suspicion. And they have to prove that I was thinking this, that's why I arrested this guy, first thing. And then when they take you to the police station, they have to have a record as to when you were brought there, the time, your condition, where you stay, and everything that you do is recorded so that if anything goes amiss, we can go to that record and see that, oh, at 4:30, what's your name again? Winston, eh?
Yeah.
Winston was complaining of headache, or he was complaining that he hasn't had food. I've had people who've been in cells who have been starved, and so like relatives and things come to see them and things like that. I don't really say it's the fault of the police, because maybe they don't even have the resources. They have not given them the money to buy food or look after these guys. But all these are issues where society, because a sign of a civilized society is the way they treat their accused persons. That's the cardinal point of modern civilization. So that you are given all your rights, but we go through the evidence, we go through everything. You have rights counsel, you are not maltreated, you are not coerced to do anything, but we find you, what the Americans call due process. And then at the end of that, then you have no complaint.
Yeah, but these things are, I mean, they are guaranteed in our Constitution.
It's guaranteed,
yes,
but it's different from being guaranteed and what the reality on
there's
the
a
ground.
human rights court.
I'm a practitioner.
Yeah, there's a human rights court.
Yes.
What
yes.
do they do there? I mean,
yes.
these are cases they listen to.
So
there's enough, cases for you to actually fall on,
yes.
rather than necessarily going for a law. But the bit about some lawyers asking you to drop the case, how many of them have asked you to drop the case?
Oh, I cannot give a figure. So
there were many?
Oh, not that many, because there are a lot of lawyer friends.
Yeah, but
I mean, most of my lawyers, close friends, yes, wants me to do this for the same, because they believe in the same thing that we're doing. But others were just, and it wasn't because I shouldn't defend them. It's just they like me, they love me, they want to be around. And when the threats, when the public opprobrium was getting too much, they didn't want to lose me.
Are you scared?
Simple answer, no.
You're not scared during this case?
No.
Despite the threats you receive?
No, because it goes beyond that. It's always been my lifelong ambition to channel the rights of everyone that comes along the line of duty.
And you believe in doing so, in doing this case, you're fulfilling that call?
Yes, I think it's one of the major test cases. So those guys who were asking me to stop, including even my family, wants me to stop.
Your family wants you to
Yeah.
stop? When you say family,
Because
be specific. Your family as in who? Which family are we talking about here?
the core family, I mean,
Help me understand the core family.
brothers and sisters.
Your brothers and sisters want you to stop.
Yes.
And
Unfortunately, my parents are both dead. May them rest in peace. But yeah, aunties.
Did they give you the reason why they wanted you to stop?
Yes.
They said?
They say the people here do not understand what you've been doing, because they know I've been doing this in the UK. What they don't understand is different here. They think a lawyer comes in, and I've heard quite a few stories. They think a lawyer's duty is to get off their client by hook or crook. No, that's not how I was trained. I go by the evidence. So I wouldn't do things just with a single aim of getting my client off.
George Bernard Shaw, maybe you could put your hat on. I hear that's your trademark. Even in court you put it on.
And I'm known in London for my hats. So.
You're known in London for your hat. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so that's all from us this afternoon. Hot Issues. We heard from George Bernard Shaw, who is counsel for the Denture Boise Assembly member, and 3 others accused of murdering Major Maxwell Mahama. My name is Winston Amwa. Do have a lovely weekend, and I catch you on 3FM on Monday at 5:55 a.m. to 10 a.m. Bye for now.